So we are here today for an interview about your game. Well, can you tell a little bit about yourselves first before we start?
Okay,
Okay.
so do you want to go first or shall I?
I'll let you go first.
Okay, so I'm Anthony. I am programmer and project manager for Earthworlds. And yeah, just all the little jobs that don't involve art, animation, sound, music, including a little bit of PR. So I'm perfectly sane as a result.
Okay. So, yeah,
And
Jessica,
Jessica?
you,
Jess.
you can tell about yourself too. I forgot.
Yeah, I'm Jess. I'm Jess, and I just do all the art. Well, I've done all the monster designs and stuff for the game, and animations and that kind of thing. Not much else to say, really.
Yep, she's one of two lead artists in the project, the other one being Lachlan Cartland, who couldn't make it here tonight, but he's been doing a lot of work on environments as well. Jessica, as she mentioned, has been doing, well, basically half of the artwork for the project.
Yeah, just the monster designs mostly, and yeah, mostly just the monster designs, I think.
So for how long have you guys been working as an indie game studio thing?
So Cognitive Forge started as a registered Australian games company since 2012. We've developed a number of games since, well, even prior to our flagship titles, including hobby games and mods ranging from more enchantments in Minecraft to My Constructor. Our first commercial game was Catapult in 2012. That was released on iOS and Android. Well, actually only iOS because of some technical challenges with Android not allowing more than 50 megabytes. That was released to very positive reviews, but it didn't sell that well. Our current game, Earthworlds, has been in development since 2013.
That's a long time.
Yep. That's how not to scope your game.
It's getting there.
It will come out one day.
Yep, we're
Yeah,
towards the end of this year.
Definitely.
Cool. So where's your studio located?
We're located in Melbourne, Australia, and as is most of the rest of the team, though we occasionally have contributors from overseas, such as Aaron, Jennifer, and Jared, who have contributed soundtracks and various promotional art.
Okay, cool.
Also Amanda J. Lim, who's helped out a lot with the music, is currently in Singapore.
Okay, that's far away. Isn't
So
there
basically
music
all
people
over
in
the place.
Australia?
Yeah, there is. The Matt Juraya, who's worked on half of the musical pieces as well as practically all of the sounds in the game, is also based in Melbourne. Both pixel artists, Jessica and Lachlan, are also based in Melbourne.
Okay, so you have all these guys in Australia and one guy is sitting in Singapore.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. So for what platforms do you develop games?
Okay, so while we did dabble in iOS and Android in the past, currently we're focusing on PC and then later Mac and Linux, and then if all goes well, possibly console. We decided to focus on these platforms because there were more gamers on these devices who were interested in strategic challenge than on mobile. In terms of storefronts, we'll be prioritizing itch.io and Steam, though we may not necessarily release at the same time as we want to gain feedback before we launch on the next platform. We were greenlit in Steam on Steam in 2016, but have just delayed release simply because the scope of the project has increased.
Okay. How many people are currently working with you?
Let's see, around 4 to 5 casuals, plus 1 part-timer. As I mentioned, Jessica and Lachlan Cutland are the lead artists on the project, working on all of the pixel art and animations in-game. Amanda J. Lim and Matt Jiraiya have worked on musical scores for the game. Matt has also done all the sound effects in-game. And I'm pretty much left with all the other little small tasks, including code, financing, marketing, and I'm a little bit crazy, but still sane enough.
Okay. Awesome. So we're going to talk about the game now, because I think we have had enough talk about the studio. Unless you want to say anything else about the studio right now.
No, I think we're ready to move on to the next topic.
Great! What were the sources of inspiration for making this game?
Okay, so we've drawn inspiration from a number of sources. Firstly, I've played a lot of roguelites and platformers and finished most of them. Most of the released roguelites and platformers, including Tower Climb, Vagante, Risk of Rain, Catacomb Kids, Cave Blazers, 20XX,
So
and
all
a
the
number of
roguelites.
other early access titles, even some unfinished ones such as, what was it called? Dungeon Dwellers, I think it was. I need to check that. Anyway, in addition to these, which pretty much take up all my gaming time, we've also drawn inspiration from games like Terraria and Dishonored, because we like games that focus on reflexes, on creative strategy, and also encourage you to utilize the world against itself in unconventional ways. For example, in Dishonored, you could use lethal tools non-lethally. You could fire pistols into the air, teleport away, place a stun mine on the ground, teleport away, and watch as the nearest squadron of guards knock themselves out. In Spelunky, you could take cover, blow up the black market in such a way that you trap the shopkeepers into falling into traps or shooting each other to death. In Tower Climb, you could cook meat in lava, you could blow up spike blocks, and then utilize said spikes as improvised spears. And all of these games had a way of inspiring the mechanics of our own project.
So you play other people's games and then you think,
Mostly
well,
roguelike
hey, this is
platformers.
cool, let's put this in my game.
Well, this is cool. How do we do it differently and something that fits our style a bit better?
Yeah, because otherwise you have like 20 different games in one game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So what kind of game are you making?
Okay, so Our World is a creative strategy roguelike platformer. It has an emphasis on improvisation and twisting the world to your advantage in order to overcome increasingly difficult levels. All of the levels are procedurally generated. You overcome the challenges and survive by utilizing creative powers and twisting the world against itself. For example, you've got shields that deflect bullets. You can slow the world around you. You can cloak to turn yourself invisible. You can throw enemies at each other or into traps. You can trick enemies into attacking each other in certain scenarios. Each situation that is generated is intended to be solvable with the right amount of reflexes, planning, and occasionally a little bit of luck. For example, there's a lava pit in front of you, guarding a chest that you badly need. Do you A, try and swim and get vaporized? Do you B, throw a boomerang at the chest so that you can whack it open and fetch the item from a distance? Do you grapple across? Do you blow up the lava, sending sparks flying everywhere, setting everything nearby on fire? Or another scenario, there's a laser trap blocking the door to your exit. Do you blow it up? Do you teleport through it in a custom manner? Do you cloak yourself to turn invisible and march through safely? Do you stun a nearby enemy and throw it into the trap? There's all types of different ways you can approach each situation depending on your planning, your loadout, and what the procedural generation gives you in terms of challenges.
Can you say anything about the story of the game without giving too many spoilers?
Okay, well, the story is a bit rough, admittedly. We haven't fully worked into the game. That said, each of the areas have their own story, which is kind of hinted at through the graphics and through the enemies and traps. For example, the grotto was once the remains of a civilization that crumpled, and then after that it was used as an initiation area for both mages and warriors alike before it was used as a refuge after a disastrous battle. The Nile Gardens was once a property of a royal family. Before it fell into disrepair, nature started to take back what was its, and all manner of creatures and monsters that have learned to become quite hostile towards humans for destroying their habitat start to reclaim the territory as their own. And that has been warped much more by the cataclysm that occurs during the events of the game. The overarching narrative is roughly that you're the assistant at an academy that is currently experimenting with an artifact that allows travel to parallel universes for potentially unlimited resources. Unfortunately, one of their experiments goes horribly wrong. The artifact splits, causing a rift within time-space continuum, and your job is to try and get those pieces back from each of the gardens of each of the different worlds in order to undo the damage and save your own world as well as the surrounding galaxy before chaos completely consumes it.
So there is a world that is changing and you have to stay alive in it and keep it the way.
Yeah, multiple worlds
try
that
to
are
keep
changing.
it the way it was.
In order to undo the within time-space continuum, yes, you are trying to restore order whilst going through worlds that are rapidly changing and very different from each other.
Cool. That's something you have to have a lot of fantasy for.
Yep, we've had a fair bit of time to think about that.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't have fantasy, you won't come up with this, even if you have time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, true.
Did the game become what you have planned?
Well, it was very different from our initial specifications. It was meant to be a sandbox game initially, but after seeing fierce competition rise in that space from very well-made games such as Terraria, then Starbound, and later Moonman, we decided to change our specs to focus more on improvisation, on the kind of emergent gameplay and challenge aspect. And we started playing roguelike platformers, noticed that there were elements that were more compatible with the game design ideals that we were going for, so we completely, burnt half of the project to the ground and rebuilt it as a roguelite over the years.
Okay. Did you use an engine for the game?
Yes, we did. So we built our own engine using C# as well as SFML for the wrapper libraries to OpenGL and OpenAudio. Aside from that, the physics, the interactions, the event management, optimizations, is all our own code. Yeah, that added a bit more time in terms of development, but it was worth it.
So you made your own engine.
Yep.
Wow. There's not
Could have gone
many
with
developers that do that.
We could have gone with something more traditional like Unity or GameMaker, but at the time when we started, those tools weren't as good as they are now. Like Unity's support for 2D was basic to say the least. A lot of the key features we needed were locked off, and even now it's still not as optimized as it could be. Same with GameMaker. GameMaker is very lightweight, it's good for prototypes, but when you actually want to make something on a much larger scale, it's we just have a lot more flexibility and control with our own engine.
So if you're gonna make another game, you will choose to make your own engine again?
No. That added like about a good 5 months of part-time development.
Yeah, but your engine
So
is
we'll
already
either-
made, right? So you can
Yeah,
like,
so
use it again.
we'll be using our own engine again, or utilizing an existing technology like Unity. Now it's starting to improve within that space. Though having said that, next game will be quite a while away because we've got a lot more planned for this project in terms of content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it finally comes out and you have to update things.
Yeah, well, that's another benefit of having our own engine. We're not dependent on third-party modules anywhere near as much. Though that's also a curse because we can't go to the marketplace and say, "Hey, I need this." We have to develop a lot of functionality from the ground up.
Yeah, it would be bad if you go to the community. Hello, I need this.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound professional to me.
No, I meant as in like a search box on the like marketplace for GMC or Unity.
What is the best thing about having your own engine?
Like I said, kind of more flexibility, not being dependent on third-party modules, having more control over optimization, and being able to see how all of the pieces work.
What is the worst thing about having your own engine?
It added a fair bit of time to development, and yeah, if we ever do need third-party modules, we're going to either need to develop our own from the ground up, or we're going to need to adapt the code to fit our engine. Most of that having said that, since though the game's mostly system complete, it will be mostly like filters, special effects, particles, things like that.
Will this game only be for PC or will it also be on other platforms?
PC first, but we are using cross-platform libraries, which should work with Mac and Linux. If things go well enough, we might eventually consider porting to console, seeing as though we've already got the code for controller support and have tested it thoroughly across multiple players, conventions, and developer meetups.
Yeah, it seems to work pretty well, the controllers.
Well, I prefer to play games with controllers, so that's really nice.
I think most people do, actually.
I do know people that prefer games that go with keyboard and mouse, but yeah, if I play with
Yeah, I'm one
mouse,
of the
I will just
guilty in
fail
that
all the
party.
time.
Yeah, I just everybody who plays the game usually goes for the not the keyboard, the controller option. It just seems easier to pick up than play.
It surprised me because initially this was designed with 360-degree aiming, so it was all the controls were initially keyboard and mouse, and then people just gravitated more towards controller, so we redesigned the controls for that, and people seem to like the targeting more with the mouse and keyboard, but they like the movement controls more with the Xbox controller.
Okay, cool. What is the overall goal for this product, and do you think you're gonna achieve it?
From the perspective of development, I think we already have achieved at least 90% of it. Like, it is system complete now. We may eventually we are planning to add a system passive perks and permanent progression without sacrificing challenge, like area unlocks, cosmetics, stuff like that. But we have tested the game across over 600 people at conventions, at developer meetups, conventions including GX, PAX Australia, past 2 years, free play, and feedback has gotten progressively more positive, and players now are generally really enjoy the experience that we give them, even though they die a lot, being a roguelite.
Well, that's what
In terms of in terms of marketing, well, we've got a very long way to go with that, because we need people to know that project exists, otherwise it will disappear, and otherwise years of work will disappear into obscurity, like our previous project. I've known very talented colleagues within the games development industry who had similar timeframes, or slightly shorter timeframes, and not gotten the sales to match their development ideals and production values. So yeah, in terms of marketing, it's just getting word out there, going to more conventions, working a lot more on graphics to really show the amount of polish and depth that has gone to the systems. Likewise for sound. Not that I'm putting your work down, Jessica. Your work is awesome. I'm just saying that we've got a lot more stuff to do along that front, like particles, like sword, flash animations, things like that.
Yeah.
And depth animations a lot with each of the enemies as well.
Yeah, that's gonna happen at some point.
Jessica, you are really quiet. What do you do?
Sorry. No, I'm just tired at the moment, sorry.
Yeah, of course you're tired.
Yeah.
Also, you're in your time zone.
Yeah, sorry. I'm trying. Yeah, we got a lot planned for the art stuff. It's just taking the time to actually get it all done.
So,
Yeah.
you do like the level design and all?
The levels are procedurally generated, so Anthony does that. He creates template room things, and they get stuck together in the code. So it's just basically just filling it with various background objects and the enemies. At some point, I'm hoping that we get enemy variations. So it doesn't seem like. Yeah, so it's not all the same enemy.
60 so far.
No, but different variations of the enemies.
Like elite variants and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we are moving towards that.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of stuff planned just for polish and stuff, so it's not all samey and that kind of thing. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, pretty much all the players who have played recently, the game has changed a lot, have never mentioned that it has been samey. They always were very positive about the variation in not just the teams and the challenges that were thrown their way, and how that they had to adapt to their strategy quite drastically every time we introduced a few new elements to the level.
I guess I just want to work on different variants.
What was
Yeah.
the biggest challenge in the production of your game?
Well, I'd say marketing, having to learn promotion, learn to promote ourselves on social media because we're usually quite introverted. So having to tell people that this game exists has actually forced us to join local game development committees like IG Melbourne, go to conventions, and really, well, it's personally given me, it's a giant kick, like being punched out of my comfort zone by a giant rock golem fist, because I keep having to do things that I normally wouldn't be adapted. I normally wouldn't be comfortable doing, like pitching, selling the, regularly getting in front of, well, like across the duration of packs, hundreds of people, telling them to play the game is definitely like a huge step up from just posting online
About the game.
about
and stuff.
about screenshots and videos, stuff like that.
It's a learning experience.
Well, it's a good thing that you learn new things while you're doing it. Because if you
Yeah.
didn't learn from it, you wouldn't get better at all. And yeah, that would become really boring in a really short time, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
True, it's like a constant evolution. Like in Meat Boy, always learning the layouts, getting getting destroyed, and then building up from that, so you know what not to do and what to do next time.
Did you get any help from the industry to develop or promote your game?
We had some. We've been just going to local communities like IG Melbourne, formerly Glitchmark, and older ones like Glitchmark, stuff like, or as well as conventions like Free Play. We've learned a lot from both players and game developers about what to do with regards to a number of fields, like testing gives us better insight into what works and what doesn't work in terms of gameplay and UI. Developers have always been helpful in their advice on getting word about our game out there, as well as how to budget across the different areas of our game. Going to the last convention of PAX last year, Screen Victoria helped us out by subsidizing half the cost of the booth.
Mm-hmm.
Despite independent games development being development in general being very competitive, we found that the scene in Australia has been very supportive, at least.
Yeah, it's pretty helpful.
Okay. How long in total did it take to create the game, and will it take to finish it?
Okay, so we've been developing it part-time since 2013, so that's about 4 years part-time, probably just bordering about 2 years full-time. In terms of finishing it, we're going to be releasing it on early access towards the end of this year. Having said that, we may end up splitting our release between itch.io and Steam so that we can do a stuff release first, get some more player feedback, as well as build community before we do our main release on Steam, which may or may not take place in the same month, or may take place in February 2018, worst comes to worst.
Okay, well that's not really close, but it's not taking
Well,
really long
itch.io
anymore.
will be in October, at least will be in October. that will allow us to have another reason for being at PAX for the third year running, as well as to start building the community before adding additional content and, well, even more content and going onto Steam.
Mm-hmm.
We've already been greenlit last year. We've just been delaying a bit because Steam's just become very competitive over the years.
Oh yeah, it is. If you go from my side on Steam, there's like 30 games coming out every day. And
just like last year,
it's
twice as
even
many.
impossible to just look at every game to see if it can be fun, because there's too many to look at. If I go looking at every game that comes out every day and put the nice ones on my wish list, I will have a huge wish list. No more time to sleep.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like twice as many games that had ever been released on Steam were released last year.
Yeah.
At least they're starting to finally curb that back by having more curation. I was really hopeful with the Steam Direct that they wouldn't make it that they would make it a little bit more challenging than Greenlight. We only spent 3 weeks on that, but we would have been happier to spend longer, pay a larger fee in order to reflect how much time and effort we've spent on this game. But instead they just said, okay, we will just revert to $100. So it's pretty much, yeah, just as, well, seems just as straightforward as Greenlight was.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty much the same.
Yeah, Rex doesn't seem that much different, really. Just you have to pay more money per game. No,
At least the money with...
you pay money each game that you put on there. Instead of just one.
Paying one time and then having 100 games.
Yeah.
At least the money with Greenlight went to charity, like it went to Child's Play Australia, and this time it's just like, okay, so we'll give you your money back once you've reached $1,000 in sales, which really isn't that much when you consider how much funds and how much time it takes to make a commercially successful game.
Just have a good PR behind you and it will sell.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Fingers
I'm
crossed for
not
that.
a PR, so I'm not promoting myself there. You said you go to a lot of conventions. How did you come to the idea to do that, and how does it work for you?
Well, conventions allow us to get feedback from hundreds of players. Like our first convention was free play. We only had it was only for one day, so that was just 60 people. Our next one, PAX 2015, about 200. Then PAX Mini, then PAX 2016 was about 400 people. Well, it helps keep us sane in the sense that, hey, there are other people who actually like this project. Let's keep building it. On the other side,
So
it's also
motivating.
because, yeah, it's motivating. It allows us to figure out what elements to work on and improve. It also allows us to meet awesome press. Like yourself, though. Having said that, you're in the Netherlands, but we've been able to make connections through conventions like that. We've met a number of article writers, YouTubers, and streamers who said that they would be interested once we actually do release in covering the game. So there was that networking side as well, plus also the opportunity to see other developers' projects at those events and show to people that the team developing it are actually real people. We're not just robots in cyberspace putting together ones and zeros.
Cool. So, I'm going to other questions now. Do you have anything you want to tell the people about your game before we jump to the next thing?
I can't think of
Okay,
anything.
so I think we already mentioned that during the previous section. I can go over the pitch again quickly, in case, because I kind of botched it a little bit the first time.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, so our game is Earth Worlds, a creative strategy roguelike platformer with an emphasis on improvisation and twisting the world to your advantage. Creative abilities range from shadow sight to see in the dark to shields that can deflect and slide off traps, as well as deflect attacks. It also emphasizes utilizing enemies against themselves and twisting the world and traps against themselves. For example, you can grab and throw almost anything. You can trick enemies into harming each other under the right conditions. You can utilize objects in the environment, such as lanterns hanging to the ceiling. You can pick them up. You can throw them as improvised Molotovs or use them as a way to light the way through dark passages.
Okay. Then we go to the other questions now. That's only 2 questions, so it's really fast. What do you think is currently hurting or helping the indie game industry?
So, in terms of what's hurting the games industry, I'd say discoverability is a huge problem. Like, there are a lot of great games out there that just get buried. Months or years of work just disappear into obscurity. Mainly because, well, there are just so many games right now that the ones that actually have passion behind them don't get seen because of a lot of clones, because of a lot of
Asset flips.
subpar games that get released at the same time, or just lack of knowledge of how to market your game. What hurts it further is the myth that games development is a way of making quick buck. Of making quick money. It's really not. Sacrifices need to be made, and many development teams need to go through at least 3 to 5 years of experience before they can make a project that breaks even in sales. What do you think, Jess?
I think what really hurts indie game development is it helps indie game development. It also hinders it. It's just the ease of access into actually getting into games. So there's the whole Unity and that kind of stuff. It's like, it's great to get beginners into it, but because anybody can make a game with these things, it's just you get tons of just tons of stuff just coming out constantly, and it's like you don't know if it's good, you don't know if it's bad. Yeah, I just think that it helps and harms indie game development, just engines in general. That's my opinions, really. Even though it's a good thing, it's a good thing. It just, yeah.
It just means that, so what you're saying is tools are accessible to everyone, and everyone's making games, and the thing is, amongst those people, whilst we should be encouraging creativity, the thing is that a lot of them make a game and they don't get into games development, and they don't actually know what to expect.
Yeah, that as well, but it's just you get a lot of clones of things because people can just make whatever they want. Like, it's so easy to like.
Which is why the app market is just a nightmare right now.
Yeah, so it's like yeah, I just reckon it helps and harms indie games. Even though it's a good thing.
It's a good thing that everyone can make games today, but it's a bad thing that not everyone uses it as a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good answer. You're the first one that answers like this, so... So what conventions and event will you go to this year, and next year what will the future be in that kind?
Okay, so we've already been to GX this year, which was much smaller, but we got to meet a lot of the journalists there. In terms of conventions we hope to go to, we really paid the fee for PAX this year, so that will be coinciding with our first early access release. We also hope to go to other smaller events like Free Play or Contours if that's going to run again this year.
Okay. So the next questions will be about the person or the team I'm talking to. That's you guys. And it is possible that some answers have to come from both sides, so that means that there's two answers.
Yeah, sure.
What do you personally think about each platform?
As in Windows, Mac, and Linux, or
Can be any platform. It can be a 2DS. If you like this, the Super Nintendo a lot, then you can talk about the Super Nintendo.
I've been really enjoying the PlayStation 4 recently, so I'm hoping at some point we can release onto that. Hint, hint.
That'd be cool. Well, in terms of platforms, I've mainly grown up using PC for games because I like how modular it is, how much control over customization mods you have. That said, I do like the console platform because of how fluid the controls feel, and yeah, I personally think that platforms like PC, Mac, Linux, and console have a much larger audience in terms of those looking for strategic challenge than on mobile, which is a lot more focused on kind of casual gaming, like short games that do a few mechanics well,
Like
but
Candy
aren't
Crush?
quite as deep.
I
Oh
have
my gosh,
never
Candy
even
Crush
tried
just gives
Candy
me
Crush.
nightmares. One time, my friends just kept posting, I got to level 50 on Candy Crush, stop posting those status updates, I don't want to play the game, I don't want to see another
Post about it.
post about it, because I've seen a lot of Bejeweled games. No offense to Bejeweled developers, but Candy Crush's viral nature just drove me crazy during that period.
Yeah, just with different platforms and stuff. I like the 3DS, I like the PlayStation 4, and I probably would like PC gaming more if I had a decent computer.
If you had a decent computer, wow, that sounds like your computer is a potato.
Oh, it's like 7 years. 10?
Oh,
No, I
whoa.
think it's
That's even older than my previous PC.
like 10 years old actually.
That's
It's
even
old.
older than the PC before my previous PC.
And it just I can barely run games. I can run Terraria.
Well, that's
But
something.
Anything else other than that, like Terraria crashes often, but anything other than that,
You
I'm
can
just
run
like-
our game without troubles,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, I can run that game too. But if I want to play like good games, or not good games, like AAA games, the latest ones and stuff, I have to play them on like consoles and stuff because my computer's just potato.
Okay.
So I guess I prefer like
So
the
you prefer
PlayStation 4.
console because your computer is a potato.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. That's really cool. So if you get rich and you get another computer, you can become a PC gamer.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Join the master race. JK.
Yeah, as part of the master race, I would invite you. But I also have a PlayStation 4 and an Xbox One, so...
Yeah, same.
Why did you guys start game development?
Well, I just knew that after I got out of... I initially started off as like a traditional artist, and I just wanted to do stuff with art and computers, so it kind of just... I like playing games, and just it led into like, oh, game development. I could do art for that. It just clicked.
Okay, so you were an artist and you thought, let's do game art.
Yes, pretty much.
Okay, cool.
Well, I got into games development because, well, for a number of reasons. It combines multiple art forms like sound, audio, in addition to working systems, so I became interested in looking to create things within that space. Also wanted to meet people within games development. I enjoy playing games. I've spent like a lot of time just playing roguelike platformers. Well, not a lot of time, seeing as though developing a game means you have less time to play games, but yeah.
It's funny how that happens.
What type of education did you guys do?
So I've had 2 degrees in between. So Bachelor of Science, majoring in Software Systems, University of Melbourne, finishing in 2011, and Masters of IT, finishing 2016 from the same institute.
You've been to school a lot.
Yep. Plus also was like about a year and a half of contracting work in between that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing a bunch of schoolwork too. I did, what did I do?
You went to school, you have done it for years and you don't remember.
Yeah, it just, it all blurs together really.
Uh,
I did a folio preparation year to like develop a portfolio in order to get into a game design course at RMIT. And then I finished that, and now I'm doing a computer science degree because I realized during my degree with game design that I kind of enjoy the programming aspect as well as art.
so you're still in school?
Yes, yeah. I'm taking a year off at the moment to like focus on the game and that kind of stuff, and also just to get out of the whole burnout of schooling.
No, well, I really disliked school, so I can get into that.
Yeah.
What type of games do you play in your free time?
What free time?
Oh, you just quit school. You have a lot of free time.
I work full time and do art.
I also have a day job to fund development, which I may or may not look into renegotiating hours after in a few months' time.
I
Well, I
play-
mostly play
Oh, sorry,
roguelike
I'll let you go.
platformers as market research, as I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So you play a lot
ranging
of
from
roguelike
20x.
platformers, and
Yeah,
this
so
guy has
it's
no time in her life, so she does only work and sleep. And eat.
No, I do play some games.
Okay.
Trying to remember them because it's been a while since I played them.
Okay.
I really got into Breath of the Wild, big when that came out, and Persona 5. I got like a really weird taste in games. I'll just play anything that's not a fighting game.
So you like games, but you don't like games where you fight in?
Oh no, like as in the two. What's it? Like Mortal Kombat, those kind of games.
Okay, so I don't have to ask you to play Killer Instinct with me.
Yeah, I play it for a bit and I'm like entertained for a bit, but I can't play it for long periods of times. It just doesn't. The whole thing doesn't really interest me that much. But I'll play pretty much anything really.
Okay, then you're like me.
Yeah.
I also play pretty much everything.
Yeah.
we also, speaking
Yes.
of combat, we designed a game with so that you could actually the current build you can complete the game without killing anything. That includes the bosses and any of the enemies. Though most of the players we've had have taken the opposite approach, and they just like destroying everything in their path, killing everything because of they enjoy the combat, and even to their own detriment. Like they'd rather engage with an army of 3 skeletons and be burnt to death by rising lava than just running the hell out of there so that they can reach the exit with plenty of time to explore.
Which is funny because I just avoid all of the enemies. I tried speed run the levels.
Yeah, Jessica's a great speedrunner in the game.
Yeah, but you created the game together, so it would be like really bad if you guys couldn't play it and get through it in time.
Yeah, that would be embarrassing. I initially
Yeah.
was terrible at controls and at Xbox controller because I usually play with mouse and keyboard, and it's kind of something that I should pick this up again because it would be very embarrassing if I was to not play well in front while demonstrating it with a controller, which most people have actually picked up pretty quickly.
I actually prefer playing with the
I
controller.
mean, play
Yeah,
quite
me
well
too.
with the
I like the
controller.
controller more than the keyboard and the mouse. But maybe that comes because I played on console only before. Now I play mostly on PC and sometimes on console. What is your favorite games of all time?
Portal 2.
Portal 2, okay.
Still. So, Breath of the Wild's close. But
So
I
your
still-
PC can run Portal 2? Or did it come out for consoles too? I don't know, I've never played it.
No, I played that on PC because I actually could run it at that time.
Hey, so your PC has been good in the past.
PC was not a potato in the past, like GLaDOS
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
it's a potato now. It doesn't run anything apart from our game and Terraria.
Well, it
And
does
maybe-
run something. I think it would run most indie games in that case.
Yeah, if I got around to playing them.
Yeah, well... There is a lot of them that are really good and really fun, so you should look into them.
Yeah, my game library on Steam's like a lot. Like there's so many games and I've barely played any of them.
Yeah, I have almost 3,000 games, so I know the problem.
Oh wow.
I know the problem of having too many games and not being able to choose anymore.
I
Yeah,
have like 20 games on Steam. I don't play that many games and not that often, but when I do, I play them
Yeah, lucky you, I have to battle
to
through
at least
500.
90% completion. I'm not going to go through all of that. I only play like a few games each year.
You should
Yeah,
play
I've got-
more games, make more time, sleep an hour or less per night or something.
That means I'd have to either quit my job or reduce time on game development, and neither options seem appealing at this current stage.
No, that's not possible. Just sleep less. Take energy pills or something to stay awake.
I just inject coffee into your veins.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, I've tried sleeping less, but the problem is with sleeping less, you don't know when it's going to punch you in the face. Either the next day or the day after.
Or a week after
just
when you
kinda
have slept
random.
fine for the past days.
Yeah, that too.
Okay. Do you have anything else you want to share with people that watch a video like this?
Can't think of anything actually. That might be the time talking like.
Okay, well,
We can talk about cute kittens or something, but I don't think the people that watch these videos will be interested in that.
Yeah, I can't think
Oh,
of anything at the moment. So
well, thanks so much for watching, folks. Our will also be released in early access towards the end of the year with multiple major updates to come.
The links will all in the description below.